Good morning, boys and girls. Today's read aloud is not a read aloud at all. I'm going to tell you the story of something that happened to Mr. Gibbons. I believe it was the fourth grade. I was 9 years old. Let's start at the beginning. I grew up in a house where there were 11 kids, and there were 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. It was a fairly small house in the city of Cambridge, Mass, right alongside Boston, Massachusetts. I had the most incredible teacher in the world when I was in fourth grade. Her name was Mrs. Hughes at the Emmy Fitzgerald Elementary School. And it was early spring, maybe March or April. I just remember it was starting to warm up. And on this day, I woke up a little late and I came downstairs to take a shower to go to school. And there was a line at the bathroom to get in the shower. So I would not be taking a shower that morning. And I loved to take my shower in the morning. I went upstairs, dilly-dallied around, went to get dressed. And my new shirt was missing. And I knew where it was. I knew it was on my brother John, who quite often would take my things and wear them. So I went to my dresser and opened the top drawer to get the 50 cents that I had hidden there so I could stop at Zulu's candy store on the way to school. And my 50 cents was gone. I knew who took it. I was quite upset. Nothing I could do about it. Find a better hiding spot next time. I walked downstairs to get some cereal, which we usually had Corn Flakes or Special K or some boring cereal. And there was a box of Captain Crunch on the table. So something good was going to happen on this morning. Only I went to pour the box and the box was empty. I left the house. I walked to school with a scowl on my face like this. My money was gone. My brother had my new shirt on. I didn't get to take a shower, so I probably was going to stink that day. Today was not the day to mess with Patrick Gibbons. When I got to school, we had a spelling quiz, which I did not study for, and I usually do. And I missed 6 of the 20 words, which added to my feeling of, oof. Today was not the day to mess with Patrick J. Gibbons. All 3'8" of him. Yes, I was tiny in the fourth grade, and I was really, really skinny. Fast forward to lunch, sat by myself, and I stewed, pun intended. I stewed over my lunch. I was still in a bad mood. I just wasn't feeling it. And after lunch, we always went to recess, and today I just wanted to be by myself. I walked around the playground with my head down, my arms folded. Oh, we got to pause right there, because I have to tell you about this one girl that was in our school, and her name was Kenya. Kenya was a very, very, very large girl, and she was a very, very, very mean girl. When you left school in the afternoon, you had to make sure that you were by yourself, because if you weren't and Kenya caught up to you, whatever money was in your pocket, hand it over. And you did. If you had candy in your hand, hand it over. And you did. Because if you didn't, you got a Kenya beatdown. And if you told on Kenya, she'd stay away for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then she'd get you in a driveway or an alleyway on the way home from school. It's like, oh, so you want to tell, huh? If you got caught alone with Kenya, you just took your lumps. Kenya was a big girl. She was a mean girl. She was hateful. She was nasty. She stole. She lied. Anyway, Kenya had, I don't know if you can see this or not, Kenya had a big growth on her ear, something called a keloid. And whenever she was messing with somebody, she'd always say, nobody better mess with my keloid. Nobody better come near or hit me. She was always talking about her keloid, if anybody ever hit her keloid. Well, fast forward again to 4th grade, walking on the playground. Today was not the day. I had had a horrible, terrible, no good day, kind of like Harry did in that book. I mean, it was rotten. And as I'm walking along the playground with my head down, you ever get the feeling that something or somebody is near you? Well, I got that feeling. And before I could react, this hand came up across the back of my head and gave me what is called a crop duster. Like, boom. And my head went forward and I bit my tongue. And blood was coming down my lip. I bit that lip, my lip, hard. I didn't know who did it. I didn't ask. I didn't look. I just knew today was not the day. Whoever just did that was going to pay a mighty, mighty, mighty price. Because today was not the day. And I reached down into the deepest, darkest part of myself, and I balled my fist up and I reached back and I turned around and I swung. And as soon as my head turned around with my head, my brain was saying, oh no. But my brain never caught up to my fist. And my fist hit right to the side of the head of the biggest, baddest, meanest girl in all of the city. And my fist bashed her right upside of her head. Well, I should say, my fist bashed her right upside of that big, huge growth on her ear. And I heard a scream, the darkest, dankest, ugliest scream I have ever heard in my life come out of her mouth. And then I felt the explosion. The keloid on her ear popped. And whatever was in there came out all over my hand and my arm. And there was blood and there was pink stuff and yellow stuff. Ugh! It was the grossest, nastiest experience of my life. That thing popped all over my hand. And it smelled funky. It looked funky. And instantly my stomach began to curdle. It was the nastiest. Like I said, my brain tried to stop my hand before it hit Kenya. What happened over the next 5 or 6 minutes, I don't rightly recall. Although I do remember it was the most epic, hardcore beatdown a 4th grader in all the history of 4th gradedness has ever received. That girl proceeded to jump on top of me and punch me and kick me and scream at me and rub dirt in my face, dirt in my ears. She hurt parts of my body I didn't even know I had. And then she was pulled off of me. And we were both dragged to the office. And Mr. Gibbons got in trouble, not for defending himself. It was for what came out of his mouth. Evidently, in my pure raw anger, I forgot. I remembered hitting her, but I don't remember what came out of my mouth. And evidently, what came out of Mr. Gibbons' mouth was not appropriate. And he ended up getting suspended for the first and only time in his life for 3 days. And for 3 days, I sat in my bedroom, no television, no book, no phone, no nothing. And I could not wait to get back to school. Now I have to fast forward over the next couple of years. I learned a little bit about this girl, Kenya, and why she was so mean and why she was so hateful. And some of the stuff that was happening to her at home. I moved forward now to 8th grade, and I wouldn't say that I became friends with Kenya, but we became acquaintances. We did the nod in the hallway. Once in a while, you got the sup. And when I was in high school, I found out more about what had happened to this girl as a child and kind of felt bad. She was beating kids up at school because she was getting beat up at home. And she was mean and rotten to other kids because they treated her mean and rotten at home. So I learned a nice lesson about bullies. Generally, bullies are bullies because they don't feel real good about themselves. And a lot of times what they're doing to you, it's being done to them at home. So if you're the bully, you're raising a big red flag for your teachers that something outside of school might be going on. And if you're the bullied, that kid who's doing the bullying to you, the same thing is being done to them at home. When I think back to 4th grade in elementary school, that is probably the one thing I remember the most. Standing up for myself for the first time. Granted, it cost me an epic beatdown, but standing up for myself for the first time, being a tiny little skinny kid. And I will say, Kenya never bothered Mr. Gibbons again. Ever. She never got my candy after school. She never got the 50 cents out of my pocket like she used to. I never had to look behind me walking home from school. I never had to be looking out for the crop duster queen. By the way, that crop duster is when someone comes with their hand across the top of the head and boom. And she was the queen of the crop duster. She knew how to make it hurt. After that incident, I never had to worry about her again. And that's the story of Kenya. You guys have a great day today, okay? I know parts of that story were probably a little bit gross, but it was the truth. It's what happened.